Hello, 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 and welcome back to another edition of Fan Talk, your favorite podcast by your favorite fan. What is up, guys? It is a Wednesday, and we are hanging out. The setup is so close to being complete. We have the sign up, we have our location in the studio. We're getting so close. I'm super excited. Thank you guys so much for joining here on Fan Talk today. This is a podcast you can find anywhere you get your podcast. If you're new here, hello, hello, welcome. You chose a beautiful day to be here. Seriously, beautiful day, 75 degrees outside. Anytime that we're in the summer and it's like in the 70s as opposed to the high 80s or 90s or even hundreds, I'll take it. I'll take it. So 75 degrees. Looks great out there. I apologize if my voice sounds a little deeper today. I worked an early morning shift and came home, took a nap, just woke up a couple minutes ago and still kind of bouncing out of that. But I really wanted to put out this episode because today is Wednesday, of course. Tonight, the first game of the Stanley Cup playoffs kicks off. Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers, rematch from last year's Stanley Cup. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be previewing the NBA Finals. The stage is set for that. OKC Thunder, Indiana Pacers. We'll have fun breaking down both the Stanley Cup as well as the NBA Finals. But first, Fan Talks podcast you can find anywhere you get your podcasts. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever it is. I upload on YouTube for video. Spotify also has video, but audio versions are always available. Tell your friends, let them know. This is a podcast for all fans. We talk all sports. Today we're going to be talking hockey and basketball, and it should be super fun. All right, guys. What a time to be alive. Can I just say that? What a time to be alive. If you guys did not watch the Stanley Cup final last year, then what were you doing? Holy cow, it was incredible. If you remember, and if you don't, the Florida Panthers faced off against the Edmonton Oilers. And the Florida Panthers jumped out to a 3-game lead. So just like in the NBA, they play a best of 7 series. So you just have to win 4 out of the 7 games. First team to win 4. Florida was up 3-0. And you never come back from 3-0. It never happens. It never happens in hockey. It never happens in basketball. It never happens in baseball. 3-0 means good night. The series is pretty much over. 3-1 is incredibly hard. 3-0 is near impossible. But Edmonton was like, hey, we're not going down without a fight. And they stormed back and won the next 3 games. First a Game 7. Ultimately, Florida came out and won Game 7 on home ice, which was definitely the determining factor. But still, holy cow, they made a series of it. And it was awesome. It was incredible. Florida won their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. And Edmonton, with their young star Connor McDavid, was like, all right, we'll be back. And sure enough, here we are, 2025. Both teams are back. Now, interestingly enough, both teams, in my opinion, perhaps were better last year, although Florida has deeper depth this year. So perhaps Florida got better, but they were both 3 seeds. Of course, Edmonton coming out of the West, Florida coming out of the East. How did we get here? Edmonton, they are the kings of the comeback. As you saw last year in the Stanley Cup, they almost came back from down 3-0. Now, this year, they did the same thing. They were down 2-0 against the Los Angeles Kings, but then came back and won the next 4 games and won the series in 6. Same with the Golden Knights. They lost the first game and then came back and won the next 4. Edmonton against the Dallas Stars won that series in 5 as well. So Edmonton has kind of just started slow, but then they pick up the pace and they just blow you off the ice in games, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Florida, again, the 3 seed as well, but coming out of the East, they took care of Tampa Bay in 5 games, no big deal. The Toronto Maple Leafs took them to 7 games, and the pain of the Toronto Maple Leafs fans continues to happen because they haven't won anything in 100 years, pretty much. The Leafs were the 1 seed, and they could not get it done. Florida Panthers took them out in 7 games. And then the Panthers just annihilated the Carolina Hurricanes. I watched this series. Carolina did win Game 4, but, I mean, you can argue that Florida was tired after winning 3 straight. It was a game on home ice for Carolina. They were bound to win at least 1, but they just did not stand a chance in any of these other games, and Florida took care of business and punch their ticket back to Stanley Cup final. So that is how we got here. Edmonton, Florida. The first game's actually happening in like 20 minutes, probably already going down by the time you watch this. I really wanted to get this episode before the Stanley Cup playoffs started, before the NBA playoffs started. Yesterday, my sister actually came home from a church mission, so I was with family all day. So I'm now cramming it in here today on Wednesday, but it's all good because I can still legitimately make my picks before the puck drops. Game 1, honestly, I think the trend continues for Edmonton. They start slow. I think Florida comes out with their deep bench. They come out, they score a lot of goals. Edmonton tries to come back, but ultimately falls short. Maybe the game is 3-4, maybe it's 5-4. And Florida takes game 1. I think Edmonton will put up a fight. I think they'll split the series in both Edmonton and Florida, and that this series will really be determined in games 5 and 6. Personally, if I were to make a bet right now, I'm taking the Florida Panthers to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. Last year they were good. This year they are better. They are deeper, and all the pressure is with Edmonton. Edmonton lost it last year, and so all the pressure is, hey, you can't lose it 2 years in a row. You now have home ice advantage. It's here it is. The pressure's with you. Florida's already won it. If they lose, then it's like, hey, we went there 2 years in a row, and we won it the first time, and they got their revenge the second time. Let's come back for a third time, right? But all the pressure is with Edmonton, so it should be fun. That game, of course, is happening tonight. Maybe it's already happened by the time you watch this. But Edmonton Oilers, Florida Panthers, make your predictions down below for who you think will win the 2025 Stanley Cup final. All right, let's switch gears and talk NBA playoffs. I know what you're saying, Kyle. You talk NBA playoffs so much here on the podcast, but let's be frank. Most of you are big basketball followers. Most of you appreciate what the NBA has to offer in some regard. We have the NBA draft coming up in a couple weeks. So NBA is here to stay, and the finals are finally here. I can't believe that it's already June 4th. Are you kidding me? First game tips off tomorrow, June 5th, which is a Thursday, according to my calculations. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder, the 1 seed in the West. You have the Indiana Pacers, the 4 seed in the East. How did they get here? Oklahoma City has had somewhat of an up and down path to get here. They, of course, got the 1 seed, so they drew an 8 seed Grizzlies team, and they swept them in 4. Had no problem with the Memphis Grizzlies. Then they got the Denver Nuggets, and this was the challenge of the playoffs for them. Nuggets, of course, just a 4 seed, but defending champion. You have Nikola Jokic, arguably one of the best players, if not the best player in the entire world. You got Jamal Murray, he's a firecracker. You never know what he's going to get. And the surrounding cast around that Denver team. Oklahoma City took them to 7 games. Denver took them to 7 games. Ultimately, it was a series, games 1 through 6. Game 7, the Thunder blew them out by 32. But it was a series. And ultimately, the young core, the great coaching by Mike Dagnall, and the home court advantage, the thunderous applause from the Thunder faithful, got OKC out of the semifinals and into the conference finals against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, the Timberwolves were kind of on a Cinderella run themselves. If you remember, they actually made the Western Conference Finals last year as a fairly high seed. This year, they're the 6th seed. They took care of Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and the Lakers in 5 games in the first round, took care of the Warriors in 5 games in the second round, but then faced the OKC Thunder, and that was a different animal than both the older Warriors team and a somewhat new Lakers stardom with Luka and LBJ. So you got the Thunder, you got the Timberwolves, and the Thunder honestly owned this series. The Timberwolves, they tried, but they didn't really. It wasn't really a toss-up of who's going to win. You're watching these games, and you know OKC is going to come out on top. But shout out to the Timberwolves for making it to back-to-back conference finals. So that's how OKC got there. Let's take a look at the East and the Indiana Pacers surprising everyone. Now, they came out of the 4-5 game against the Bucks. I think a lot of people took the Pacers in this one. I personally took the Bucks. It could have gone either way, but it went in favor of the Indiana Pacers. They won in 5. And then they beat the Cavaliers, the 1 seed Cavaliers in 5 as well. So the Pacers at this point are 8-2. They've only lost 2 games. They go up against the big bad New York Knicks, the Empire State. They got Timothy Chalamet, they got Ben Stiller, they got Kylie Jenner, they got Spike Lee courtside for every game. But Tyrese Halliburton says, I do not care. I don't know if you guys saw that image of Mitch McConnell. Not Mitch McConnell, that's the TJ McConnell. Mitch McConnell's the Republican senator. TJ McConnell drilling the three and then running up the court with the three sign, flashing it to Miles Teller and Timothy Chalamet and Ben Stiller. I think that's the coldest thing ever. A white guy just saying, hey, I know ball too. Pacers, holy cow, took the series in 6 and got Mike Thibodeau fired from the New York Knicks. Can you believe that? Thibodeau takes the New York Knicks to their first conference finals in 20 plus years, and he gets fired. Job security in the NBA is thin ice, but that is a story for another day. The Indiana Pacers, led by Tyrese Halliburton, is in the NBA Finals against the OKC Thunder. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below before I start sharing and swaying you. But I think this is Oklahoma City's year. The last time they were in the NBA Finals was the 2020-12 season, when they had Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Of course, they lost that series to LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, the big three down in Miami. But the Thunder franchise, which of course was the Seattle Supersonics before, they've only won one NBA Finals, and that was in 1979. None of you were born, I guarantee it. And this is a huge opportunity for them to do this. 46 years later, I think the Thunder do it. It's just a matter of in how many games. I personally think probably in 6. I think the Thunder go out and win both games at home, and possibly even take one in Indiana. Go up 3-1. Indiana wins, forces a game 6. But then ultimately, OKC is going to win this one way or another. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been great. And honestly, let me tell you, I didn't watch him a ton in the regular season, and you guys know my reasoning for not watching a ton of NBA in the regular season. Perhaps I need to start doing that a little bit more. But a lot of people just call him a free throw merchant. He draws fouls, he gets to the line, and perhaps that's true. He does go to the line 15, 16, 17 times. And when, a third or half of your points are coming from the free throw line, of course, you're going to put up big numbers. But he is clutch from the mid-range. He knows how to get to his spot off the pick and roll, get into open space. If you're a defender and you give him any space at all, he's going to fade it over you. He might beat you for a drive, but he is incredible from the mid-range. Great at getting to his spot, can knock down the three, can spread the ball around. Shai, MVP for a reason. He is the X factor, of course, here in the series. Can he do what he will do? I think he will. I think the OKC Thunder win in 6. But don't count out this Indiana Pacers team. They have done incredible things. Obviously, first round matchup against the Bucks could have gone either way. But taking out the number 1 seed Cavaliers lost less than 20 games this season and just got boat raced by the Indiana Pacers. The series wasn't even close. Donovan Mitchell had no answers. The Cavaliers had no answers. A great defensive team with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. They couldn't stop Tyrese Halliburton. And same with the New York Knicks. Tyrese Halliburton, game 1, when he hit that shot to force overtime, you just knew that the Pacers were going to win that series and that the Knicks were in deep water. Holy cow, it's been awesome. Honestly, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I have no beef with any of the Final Four teams. I was fine with any of them going through. OKC, Indiana, I'm fine with either of these teams winning. But my heart and mind are on the same page and tell me that the OKC Thunder are going to win the NBA Finals and take Game 1. Let me know your comments, your predictions down below in the comments. Again, by the time you watch this, perhaps the Stanley Cup game has already kicked off, but you can still predict the series. Same with the NBA Finals. Let me know who you think is going to win down below. All right, guys, short and sweet on this Wednesday. Go out and watch some hockey. Go out and watch some NBA. Go out and enjoy the weather. Beautiful weather this time of year here in the 801. Again, Fan Talks podcast you can find anywhere you get your podcast. And I'll see you guys next week for another edition of Fan Talk. Sounds good. Peace out.